Hi kids, have you heard the story about Snow White? My name is Alexi Gia R. de la Cruz from Grade 3 Eagle under Miss Sofia Culanag. With just one kiss, Snow White awoke the prince, lifted her atop his horse, and together they journeyed towards his castle. Turning back, Snow White blew a kiss to her beloved friends, the 7 dwarfs. "Don't worry," said the prince to Snow White. "You'll be able to see your friends again. In fact, I was hoping for an outdoor wedding." "Oh my," said Snow White. "A wedding?" The prince helped Snow White from the saddle. "Forgive me," he said. "I spoke too soon. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" When she said yes, he tied a pretty little flower around her finger. "I'll give you a better ring later," the prince added. Snow White nodded, but she thought the flower would serve as a wonderful wedding ring forever. As they arrived at the castle, the royal gates opened wide. "Welcome home! Long live the prince!" shouted the people. The prince smiled and introduced Snow White as his wife-to-be. "How do you do?" she said. The prince staff didn't waste a moment. They bustled all around Snow White. "You'll need a dress, a royal wedding carriage, and a cake." "Why don't you start with your dress?" the prince called. "I'm off to find you a ring." The royal dressmakers, a seamstress, advised the dress should be white, of course, and have a very long train. Said the dressmaker, "She'll be queen someday, after all." Snow White didn't know what to say. She wasn't sure she wanted to wear a fancy dress or have a fancy cake or carriage. When the prince and Snow White met in the afternoon, he had a surprise for her. "Planning this wedding is hard work," he said, "and can't find the perfect ring. So I brought in the best helpers I know." There stood the 7 dwarfs with all of Snow White's forest friends. "Oh, why didn't I see it before?" she said. "It's simple. I'm marrying my true love. This wedding should be simple too and sweet," said Happy. Everyone agreed and was ready to work. The next day, as Sneezy, Doc, and Sleepy helped Snow White her wedding dress, Dopey and Happy helped the prince mine the perfect diamond. Later, Snow White talked with the royal chef. "Of course, your idea for a white cake is lovely. But if you don't mind, how about adding berries?" Bashful blushed and nodded. "It will be little more like one of them pies," said Grumpy. When the wedding day arrived, Snow White's forest friend helped her to get dressed. The royal dressmaker was surprised by the new gown, but he couldn't stop smiling. It was just right for this bride. Snow White joined her 7 friends. Snapper, happy times, said Doc. Why, thank you, Doc. But I could use some company, said Snow White. Would you all be willing to walk with me? As the birds whistled a song, the 7 dwarfs did their best to walk their beloved Snow White down the aisle to her prince. After the prince and Snow White exchanged vows, he gave her a sparkling diamond ring. Carved into the band was a floral pattern. "Oh, it's adorable," said Snow White. At the wedding reception, even Grumpy smiled along with the royal chef as the couple took a bite of their delicious wedding cake. The part of the celebration that wasn't so simple was the first dance. Everyone joined in the fun. At the day's end, Snow White and the prince rode off in love. Their wedding day had been simple and sweet, and their future was simple too. They lived happily ever after. Bye, kids!